Hello and welcome to the Inner Coach Classroom with me, Emma Benyon. I'm a multi-certified coach and educator with over 13 years of experience within the education sector. And this podcast is all about helping educators and leaders build their inner coach so that they can become more confident, more self-aware, and transform how they work and lead. So if you're an educator or leader, then you are in the right place for coaching, mindset, and reflection. And today's episode, I am really excited to be doing something a little bit different and to share this mini series with you, all about journaling. And within this mini series, I'm going to be talking all about journaling, the practice, the benefits, some guided journaling prompts, and so much more. Because this tool is such a powerful tool for everybody, not just educators and leaders. And it's been absolutely life-changing for me, as well as my clients. And I absolutely believe that there is a real need for us as educators and leaders to have this support and to have this support in a way which works for us. Recently, I asked and have continued to be asking, actually, as I asked this question a while ago as well, in terms of what are the biggest struggles that people have, when it comes to journaling. And a couple of those questions were how to get started, how to build consistency, and we're going to cover some of those within this mini series. Now, for this first part, I wanted to talk all about what is journaling, because often when I talk to educators and leaders and clients and people wider than that, their perception of journaling is that it's writing reams and reams every day, spending a serious amount of time to write down thoughts without any sort of guidance. And then obviously on the flip side, there are some beautiful guided journals out there too. Yet that can also come with so many barriers because often we want it to look perfect. We don't just want to have our scribbles, spelling mistakes, things crossed out, maybe things that we might also be scared to write as well. And so with that comes this massive barrier to journaling. And I know for some of these people I've spoken to, there are massive blocks around even just getting started because of things that potentially happened when we were younger. So when we think about journaling and how I want you to picture it, it's the act of writing down our thoughts, feelings, and experiences. Now, it can be one or all of those things, and it can take so many different forms. So it might be that traditional daily diary, maybe a secret diary under lock and key that maybe you had as a teenager, to a more structured, format like a bullet journal or a gratitude journal or a guided journal, like some of the ones that I have published and have available. Some people like to write by hand, so having a physical journal is perfect for them. Or others like to do it digitally, and that might be on a tablet, or they might like to record voice notes, or maybe even create a folder or a note bit on their phone for them to, journal in there. And all of that is absolutely okay, because the key is to absolutely find a method within journaling that works for you, because it's a practice. So it's about the doing, and all of the knowing comes from the doing and experimenting and seeing what fits and what works. And for some, that might be different at different times. So for me personally, I like to have a guided journal and I use that daily, but then I also have a notebook, and that has all of my different plans, maybe presentations that I might do at work. Yet it's also got different bits of pieces in for other things as well. And it kind of just becomes the book that I use at that time. And those two things work really well for me. So it's about finding a way that works for you. Now, when we think about journaling, it has such a rich history, when people kept records of their daily lives and, how that forms part of our history now and understanding what was happening. And then over time, it's developed into such a powerful, powerful tool for personal development and self-awareness. And it is absolutely a tool that is going to help you to build that inner coach too, help you build that self-awareness so that you can become more mindful and more intentional about each of your days. It is proven to have a positive impact on our mental health, our resilience, and our well-being. So, with that in mind, what is journaling? Who is it for? Well, people often think, well, it's for kids, is it for kids? Is it for adults? Is it just for me at a certain point in my life? And is it for me as an educator or a leader? And it's for absolutely everyone. And it might be something you would encourage your students to do as well, especially if they have to, maybe produce a reflective log, or colleagues for CPD and, talking about kind of what they gained from personal development, or reflecting on their sessions. Using a journal can be a really good way to do that. Now, it is for anybody. And the beauty is with journaling, as I said before, it can work for you in any way that you need it to. It can be personalized, can be made unique. And, some of those things that journaling might help with as well is, especially if potentially we're doing a course or further study, it can help us manage stress. It can improve our academic performance too, can set goals from what we've kind of discussed within our thoughts, and then reflecting on our progress too. Yet it's also such a powerful tool for ideas generation and problem solving and processing our emotions and experience, and just having that space to reflect. And those, as I said before, those benefits to journaling, yet they're vast, and the scientific evidence there to show that it does have a positive impact on our mental health and our well-being, because it can reduce stress, it can reduce that mental overload, it can help to reduce anxiety and depression, and help us with an outlet to really reflect and just be. So it is such a beautiful outlet, such a beautiful practice to bring into our lives. And if you are someone who perhaps really wants to develop or remove some of those limiting beliefs that sit around journaling, then it can be really helpful to think about, what's the benefit? What's the intention to me sitting and journaling? How do I want to bring this into my life in a way that's going to work for me, that doesn't feel onerous? It might be, and a practice that I'd start to, bring in a couple of years ago was that when I arrived at my desk at work in the job that I was in previously, I'd done the school run in the morning. It was really chaotic. I get to work, and then I knew that I would have a day full of teaching, of people needing me and having to be quite reactive. Yeah, I'd kind of already had that in the morning with doing the school run. And so what I'd started to do was that when I came into work, as my computer switched on, I'd make myself a coffee, or I might have bought one, and I sit at my desk and I just take a couple of minutes just to write my intentions for the day. How do I want to feel today? What am I really grateful for? What am I grateful for from yesterday? And just really take the time just to ground and settle into that next part of my day. And that made such a difference to how I showed up. Now, from journaling, one really other beneficial thing that can come from it is goal setting. And when I talk about goal setting, what I mean is that vision for our life, or a vision for the week, our vision for the day. And, maybe also how we're working towards those bigger goals that we've set, and the intention of things that we want to work towards. So when we have that vision and we think about that intention, bringing that into our journaling or writing on a daily basis can help us just to be more intentional about achieving them, and, feel much more aligned to what we're doing, and to work with those ebbs and flows that we might have. So that can be really helpful in, really bringing that intention. And that goal might just to be, to think about how we might respond to communication during the day. It might be that I want more adventure in my life. And so just thinking about bringing it in more intentionally. So journaling is an incredible tool. It's an incredible tool that we can use for ourselves, for our students. We can encourage our colleagues to do as well. And there are so many benefits to it. I'm hoping that this episode has really helped you to think about how journaling might work for you, how you might weave it into your daily practice, into your daily habits. And give it a go and see what comes up for you, because I promise you it will absolutely help you to get those thoughts from your head onto paper. It will help with that mental overload. It will help with, processing maybe what's happened during your day, and also is a really beautiful place to explore ideas, different ways of being, and build your inner coach. So, thank you for listening to today's episode, the first of our mini series on journaling. I'd love to hear your reflections and your takeaways about journaling. So, why not come and chat with me over on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn at emmabenyon.coach. And if you have enjoyed this episode and want to find out more about journaling, then make sure you follow and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And until next time, let's continue to build your inner coach together, one episode at a time.